Hey, Jimmy Valentine, that was a really great game-winning score you had there at the sporting event.
Yeah, thanks. I really appreciate that. You can look for that card really soon at Colorado Coins, Cards, and Comics. They got tons of sports memorabilia.
Jimmy Valentine, RKO Radio News. Jimmy, what makes Colorado Coins, Cards, and Comics your favorite comic store in the Colorado area?
I'm telling you, forget about it. A comic collector like me, I can save 20% on a hold slot. Duh. Plus, it's hard for me. I'm on the road all the time. If I want the Amazing Spider-Man and I'm not around, it's in my hold slot.
Jimmy Valentine, what do you have to say about your recent allegations about steroid use?
I'm not going to answer that question, but I am going to tell you that if I want to get Magic the Gathering cards, I go to Colorado Coins, Cards, and Comics. The little square Jimmy Jr., he loves those. So go to 6700 Wadsworth Boulevard in Nevada, Colorado. They'll take really good care of you.
Hold on, Jimmy, one more question.
Wait,
no, don't go yet.
Does this sound familiar? You're interested in purchasing that new action figure, but aren't sure if it's worth it?
Well, come check out PlasticExplosion.com, where you can go to find all the latest and greatest action figure previews and reviews.
Every week they'll be bringing you reviews and picks from your favorite collections, such as
DC Universe, Masters of the Universe Classics, Marvel Universe,
Star Wars, Transformers,
and many more.
Come check us out at PlasticExplosion.com. That's PlasticExplosion.com.
For barbecue that can't be beat, try Birdman Barbecue Sauce. Available and original and spicy. These robust, full-flavor sauces have the awesome power to kick your taste buds in their face. And for that smoking taste on everything you eat, try new Birdman Smokin' Rub. Caution! Meat left unrubbed may suffer from flavor performance anxiety. You can pick up Birdman Barbecue at local area Ace Hardware stores, Ruff's Barbecue in Golden, and the Danny Cash Hot Shop off Broadway. You can also like us on Facebook at Birdman BBQ.
Welcome to the podcast. I am Ryan. To my right is
James.
To my left is
Brad.
And welcome to another exciting interview that we did at Telluride Horror Show. This week we are bringing you the interview we did with Rafael Antonio Ruiz, who directed The Quiet Girl's Guide to Violence.
You always have a hard time.
I don't know why I can't say it. I don't know why I just can't say it. The movie's really good, though. A short film, actually. I was one of the lucky ones who was able to get up and see it because you guys were manning the booth.
Yeah.
I was part of a block, and it was definitely one of the standouts of the block that I saw.
Yeah.
So he was really cool, and he sat down and talked to us for a lengthy time, not only about his movie, but also geek stuff that we're interested in. And he's another guy who just came up to us, was really cool, which was really interesting. I always find sometimes you expect filmmakers to maybe not want to talk to you, but you find they're almost exactly like you, except they make movies.
Yeah, he was even nice enough that then the next morning when we were having breakfast, he came over and was like, "Hey, can I, sit down with you guys?" Just because we ended up being at the same place at the same time, and then we all sat around and talked movies together. It was cool,
which is really cool. So sit back, enjoy the interview with him. Also, I'll give a little shout out to the star of A Quiet Girl's Guide to Violence, which is Jenny Marie Jemison. And you can follow her on Twitter, too. And she's really good in the movie. Really good. Call it a movie? Short film? Sorry, short film.
Well, it's technically a TV pilot, but he'll get into it.
Yeah, he'll explain it way better than I could.
Yeah.
So sit back, crack open a Fresca, and enjoy the interview with Rafael. I did that because James said Fresca sucks, and it doesn't. Especially the peach kind. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Ryan. This is James. Over there is Brad. And we are sitting with
Rafael Antonio Ruiz. I'm director of the short film Quiet Girl's Guide to Violence, which is currently playing at the Toronto Horror Show.
Nice. Yeah, I just got done seeing it, and what was the inspiration behind making this movie? Did you write it as well? You did,
Yes,
correct?
I was one of the writers on it. What happened was me and Jenny Marie Jemison, who is the lead actress.
And she's amazing.
And she also was a producer on the project, and she was one of the writers on the project. And what happened was Jenny Marie is this little force of nature. You meet these human beings working on films that just sort of, they just have an energy to them from the first moment you meet them. You go like, they're just full of life. And she was one of those people that just was out there doing work and just sort of invigorated people around them. And what happened was she was like, I really want to do something with you. And when an utterly beautiful woman asks you to do anything, it's not really an argument. It's not really an argument. But Ginny Marie wanted to shoot a Project Rant with me. Project Rant was the series produced in Austin, Texas by Cliff Wildman and Luis Esteban Cavisi. And what they would do is they would find sort of anonymous Craigslist rants. And then it would be people complaining about anything, and then they would dramatize them. Now, there's a few series like that now, but back in like 2008 or so, no one was doing this, and they were one of the first guys that sort of uncredited did it. They did it for about 3-4 years, and they finally went, we want to go on and make our own movies, and say moved on from it. But me and a bunch of buddies loved the show and sort of tried to contribute actors when we could, because Austin has a sort of bed of really good sort of theater talent. It has, I think, per capita, the highest amount of theater per person in the community. It's a really good place for it.
Oh, yeah.
And so what happened is Ginny Marie had done a few because I'd introduced her to them. And then she was like, well, I want to do one with you. So I picked out one where she would play this sort of passive-aggressive, nerdy girl. Ginny Marie is not passive-aggressive, and she's not nerdy in any way, shape, or form. But I was like, I wanted to do something new with you. And then, so we were literally shot in like a parking lot for like 30 minutes about 2 years ago, a little bitty Project Rant episode about this woman that had been persecuted as a kid, and boys had like done some sexual harassment, and she like took a piece of asphalt and pegged them with it. And she was like, I'm glad I did it, and they deserved it, and people just deserve it. And I added a little thing at the end, because, again, it was just a little rant by someone online. And I just added a bit, okay, and then at the end, you pull a bat out and walk out of the car and slam the door shut. And people had, like, a really big reaction to it. And Ginny, in particular, she was really attracted to the character. And so she was like, I want to do more. I want to do the character more. I want to do something with it. So I went, okay, here's what we can do. We can do another 90-second short. No one will care about that because we already did it. You can do a feature, but I'm a little bored by that because I've shot a few features, indie style, like no money, and I know the work involved. And I was like, I don't see the fun of that. We need to keep this fun.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, imagine that we are doing a BBC series where there's like 6 episodes that are all awesome, and then maybe there's another season, maybe there's not, but people sort of watch Spaced, and then they'll rewatch those first 6 episodes 1,000 times. I was like, let's do that BBC series everyone loves. And what we'll do is we'll just do the first episode of that, because that's all we can afford to do. And then we'll design it to be a self-contained thing so that, it's kind of like when you watch a first Star Wars movie. If another Star Wars movie never happened, you could still rewatch the crap out of that movie.
Yeah.
And so that's the principle I tried to use, is like, let's make this a self-contained story where it tells one thing. And then if people like it, well, then there's a whole universe we've created in it. Because I think I said it at our little sort of Q&A afterwards. It's 15 minutes, but there's so much plot in it that it's dense. I call it like a pastrami sandwich with a lot of meat and a little bread, because there's like not a lot of pausing. There's a lot of it's a dense thing. Yeah. And we figured that if we did it, then we could sort of build up attention for the short as a series. Well, pretty much after our first festival, we premiered at Fantastic Fest a few weeks ago. Our reaction was pretty immediate. People were interested in it. So we're developing it as a series right now. I can't say the details, but we're sort of pulling together the first season of about 6 or so episodes that we would like to do. It'll probably be web-based because, if we ever were lucky enough to be on TV, we would then be lucky enough to have it taken from us and worked on by people that were names and all that.
Yeah, no, it's funny. When I came down here, and because we knew we were going to talk to you, I said, "Oh man, that movie's really good, and I think it could be a whole feature because there's something dark about this girl that she was picked on, and she doesn't take it anymore." And so you answered one of my questions. I was going to ask if you were never going to make it to a feature, but you went on a way cooler idea than making it a feature.
Well, I think it's part of like if you had a feature, the feature would literally be what you saw expanded, because a feature can only have one idea. One theme, one premise. But what I love about television is sort of like, we've been geeking out about comic books here. Comic books can violently change tone and focus from issue to issue. And the thing about a good TV show like a Breaking Bad or a Dexter or anything is that you can sort of have a universe that you can explore and look at from different points of view for short frames of time. And that was my feeling, is it's not interesting to follow Holly by herself. She's only interesting in context to a full world of people, which is why there's a lot of other characters in the movie that talk a lot more than her, because she's reacting to those people. And that was sort of important to me, is she's only works as an enigma to me. Because, once the mystery's out of the bag, the smog monster is just this guy in a black tunic, it's a lot less interesting. And we sort of got to maintain that we got to create a big enough universe around her that she remains compelling and interesting as a character.
I think it's one of the coolest reveal of the... Or I guess the interaction is you didn't know that guy Jeff's motives, because when you see her, she's so away from everybody, and she's a meekish, librarian, and then she's just daydreaming at a coffee shop, and you're wondering why this guy has a vested interest in her and what his agenda is. It's an interesting play.
Well, that's what I'm curious about, because for me, I see it from minute one, but then again, I'm looking at it from a writer's point of view.
Yeah.
And what I'm praying is that when you watch the thing, that it's moving fast enough, you're not looking to the end. Mm-hmm. Because what happens is, if anything plays slow enough, audiences are smart. People don't give them credit for being able to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a friend I was watching Usual Suspects with, and they figured it out in 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And that made it not fun to watch it with them. but the point is, I was hoping the movie was dense enough and fast enough that when the resolution comes, that it sort of is, if not surprising, it at least sort of, people weren't thinking, they weren't ahead of the movie.
Yeah. But I mean, to your credit, though, I mean, yeah, I knew the reason why she, hit that Patrick guy wasn't because of an overdue library book, because, you set up the little flashbacks a little bit. But that Jeff was there as well was kind of interesting. Again, not surprising, but how it kind of gets resolved is really, I don't know if unusual is the right word, because Jeff, for some reason, is like, oh, yeah, I like you. Even though you hit my friend in the head with a baseball bat, I like you. And she comes back with the ice cream, and you're like, oh, this is unusual. I mean, horror movies usually don't end like this. And she says that, and to me, it's actually kind of a scary line. And she says, want to see what happens to bullies? And then she beats the shit out of them, and she kills him like Jason Voorhees killed somebody, and Jason Goes to Hell, by bashing his head in a door. So, to me, sometimes a normal person who does barbaric things like a Jason is more terrifying than Jason doing it.
Well, I'll be honest. What I like about that last bit is there's nothing premeditated about it.
No.
And there's nothing being used that isn't right there. And to me, violence that happens organically always sticks with people more than violence that happens where, wow, I magically have the serrated blade in my jacket. It's kind of like it's amazing how we always remember the violence that's based on, like, if I decided to beat you in the head with this microphone right now, it would be or your cell phone, it would be more memorable because we can relate to the violence. Mm-hmm. And I think there's sort of like several scales of it, because, I mean, I don't even see this as a horror movie. I see it as a dark comedy, but genre festivals seem to like it, mm-hmm. because it sort of rides that line of reality with dark crap sort of right beneath the surface type of thing.
Yeah, because she also sees things that to me, she kind of sees things differently. She saw the guy she hit with the baseball bats in the party everywhere, and then I can't remember the actress, but when they go into the bathroom, like, her snap is immediate. It was the shove against her, and then she goes from, oh, I'm just a little librarian, to something completely different. So did you know that about her? Did you create a whole backstory with her? Where
No, not at all. Because to me, I think that I knew how she would act, but it's one of those things where I don't know what it is with people, but everyone wants to spoil the mystery of a character. And to me, I don't want to know it, because I just know how she will act. Mm-hmm. And I know when she'll snap. But I got to discover her as everyone else discovers her. And the beauty about Ginny is I really structured the script, and what Ginny did as a writer is actually, she didn't write as a writer, she wrote as an actress. Meaning, all of her work on the script was her as an actress, where we would do a lot of improvs. Like, when we cast the lead actor of the piece, Jeff Mills, who did a wonderful job where you feel really bad for him.
You do.
But we had like we sort of cast everybody else immediately. We knew who we were going to cast when we were auditioning him. But then we were in friendly disagreement about who was going to play the romantic lead. And so what we did was we just did a second audition with a slew of phenomenal actors that I'm working with immediately because they're all good. But they all had a different tone and energy. And what I did was I gave them all a script where she was talking up to a certain point in that final big conversation between them, and then she would go from there. So the script would read like a weird romantic comedy, then she would improvise it going dark. And every actor had a different reaction to discovering that she's an utter psychopath. And it was very beautiful because since they didn't know it and they were improvising in the moment, there was these honest reactions, and it was what she did with those actors that really was how I shaped the final sequence. Because I literally had like the rough sort of bricks of the sequence, but how it played out was really how she decided to take those in that moment. And she really helped shape that final sequence and sort of helped give it its spine. And then it was like, oh, well, she just nailed it right there, and I typed it all out. And that's sort of how she really figured out the character. Because for a woman to play a character like that that's so rare, they really sort of grab a role like that by the throat and really they give it their all.
Yeah, because, I mean, I don't... you kind of relate to Jeff, though, because, when he's talking to you, he's like, it's that long ago. Let it go, I didn't mean it, but she didn't let it go. And I think that's an awesome character moment, because I think a lot of times, because it would be a romantic comedy, and, they would find that happy ending, and the darkness, I love when it goes that way, because it's not expected. And you talked about it, too. You want to find those moments where they're not going to find it. And so was that last scene improvised, too, or did you write it?
No. It was all scripted. But
it seems so organic.
But it came from the work that she did previously in her improvs. Right. And she came up with a beautiful thing in the bathroom scene where she would just repeat the other girl's dialogue back at her. Because that scene was probably the most rewritten scene in the whole thing. And she found the whole sort of mimicking, mirroring thing that became sort of creepy cute at the same time. And we literally worked out the word that sort of sparked her into going crazy in the bathroom, which was, I think it's too subtle for people to pick up, and I get it why. But it's because the other girl says the word head is really what what cues her. I don't want people to. That's the answer for me. Mm. Anyone else can have their own answer, and I know that it's one of those things that may be too sort of indirect for someone to go, oh, that's what it was. But you know how it is. Yeah. Filmmakers have their reasons, and audience have their own reasons, and never will they align. It's like talking to David Patrick Kelly about Donnie Darko. And it's just like, that's the movie in your head. That's not the movie I saw, and I love the movie in my head more than the movie you have in your head, type of thing. So, however people interpret it is however they'll interpret it.
So in a short like this that's 15 minutes, is it hard to pace things properly? Because, you said you have so much in it, and you do. And I thought your short was only literally like 7 minutes, because it's really good, and it's just whips. And especially with a character who's so unique that you don't want to overstate her, but the pace is important for the audience to understand what's going on. Did you find that as a challenge when you were making the movie?
That was the hardest part. Hardest part was the editing. The filming went beautifully. It went. I've had good shoots. I've had bad shoots, and this shoot just went like butter. It just flowed, and you don't question it when it goes well. When the cast clicks and people click. That's the weird thing about being about a director is people think you're spending all this time like directing an actor and telling this and that. But the point is that if you get a good actor and you sort of prep with them and talk with them a bit, they're good. They know what they're doing. They'll put it together well, and they'll do a beautiful job. And you'll hear that a lot, where like all the work is in casting, and that's true. Like my biggest direction to her was I wanted her to freeze the bottom half of her face so that all of her emotion was in her eyes, rather than in the lips and the cheeks and all that, so that you're reading her eyes more than the rest of her face. And that was really my biggest direction, and she took it and she ran with it. God, I feel like I meandered away from your original question, though. Oh, no, but in terms of editing, it really was having all of the story, because it's a dense story with a fair amount of characters for that amount of time, and it was really letting the air back into it, because we had an 11-minute version of this. It didn't work. But we knew it, and we had to do it, so that we just slowly added back in pauses and character beats until it just felt right. And what's weird is, realistically, even though we wrote it as a 25-minute piece, What's going to probably happen now is as a series, so probably a web thing, the episodes will probably run, 15, 20 minutes and have that sort of faster energy than we originally expected, because I find that so many web shorts have I like to call it Canadian TV feel, where it's like it's all in one location, it's well shot, it's well acted, but you don't feel like they could walk out of the room and go into another place.
Yeah.
You don't feel it. And when you watch a show and you don't feel like we're ever going to leave this office or this house of this couple. And that's why we kept jumping around location-wise. I think we only repeated the library, and that was the point. We wanted to make it feel like the story could go anywhere. And that's sort of like anything else we do has to maintain that sort of, it's like a little movie.
Yeah.
As opposed to a skit or a sketch.
One of the things that I think we've all been so impressed by is that all of these shorts have been particularly professional looking, and it's just a sign of the times that now so much cheaper you can make these movies on a low budget look so good. But you had a very special opportunity to get the sound done at Skywalker. Talk about how did that happen, and what was that like?
Well, like I said, Jeannie Ruiz is a special human being. I'd like to take credit for it, but I'm not going to lie. We managed to get two really good artists for our Kickstarter campaign. Phil Noto, who's a really good comic artist, and Tara McPherson. And they both did beautiful work for us, and I'm forever grateful to them. But Tara knew a phenomenal sound mixer at Skywalker Ranch, Brandon Proctor. And at the same time, our producer, I have to do a little shout out to Christopher Shea, our producer, did a wonderful job. Knew a phenomenal sound mixer, Emmy winner from Sesame Street named Chris Sassano. I know I'm probably missing a vowel in there or something, but both Brandon and Chris really nailed it. They did a beautiful job, and we sort of. I pretty much knew that there was going to be this sort of sound design where the flashbacks and her sort of the movie really is sort of inside Holly's head. So we knew that there were going to be weird sounds and stuff that were going to keep popping up to sort of go whenever Holly's having a non-flashback, so to say.
Yeah.
And Chris really got it right in the design, and then Brandon nailed it in the mix. And I mean, I've been to Skywalker Ranch before. It's a beautiful place. It's quiet. I mean, I've lived in L.A. and the thing is, it's just like wind blowing, and that's it. And then when you go inside, you'll work really hard, and there's really good equipment. You go back outside, it's like, and like beautiful golden slopes and cows over in the horizon, and all you see is the little lake. And I mean, yeah, it's great when you meet George Lucas or Dennis Muren or Gary Wrightstrom or whatever, but I think it's cooler when you get to use the toys that the big boys use, and that's the part where I geek out, where I get to play with the toys. And then when you're there with them, and then they listen to you, and then they go, oh my God, they're listening to you. And then when they go, I don't think that works, and you're right, oh my God, they're right, that doesn't work. And that's the part where I think I really geek out, that you get that opportunity to play with the big boy toys.
Yeah.
And they're so professional and respectful, because what people don't know is Skywalker Ranch and Skywalker Sound in particular are very big on indie sound. Like Take Shelter was mixed there, and a lot of indie projects are done there because they have a big support of sort of independent voices and independent film. And a lot of people just never even bother to think to go to them about stuff because they think it will be, prohibitively expensive as such. But no, they really, really want to support the community, and they want to sort of give back.
That's so cool.
That's really cool. What influenced you as a filmmaker? When did you know that you wanted to make films, and what movies really spoke to you?
Well, I wanted to be an animator when I was a kid. I loved comics, as I've been talking about, and I loved animated films. But I'm a right-brained guy. I like being around people. I don't like sitting in front of a desk too long. I like the interaction. And so animation never was for me. So I pretty much from 15 on knew I wanted to be a filmmaker, even though I was sort of, from being a kid, I was sort of going up to it. I can't do anything else. I'm mentally handicapped that way. But I knew immediately I wanted to be a filmmaker. But the thing about filmmaking that's very tricky is you both have to have a voice, and you both have to work with people well. And for my journey, anyhow, it's been really about learning humility and learning how to work with others and respecting others in the process, because it's such a collaborative medium.
Yeah.
And in particular, it's really giving other people the times and the moments to put their fingerprints on it. Because unlike, say, an animated film where you can plan out every moment, there's so many things that can screw up when you're filming, and so many other things other people from other departments in front and behind the camera can give you, that you have to be listening to them when they bring it to you. It happens.
Yeah.
So that when, Harrison Ford goes to Spielberg, hey, I'm sick, let's just shoot the damn guy. And it gives you a brilliant moment. You listen to the person in front of you, and they give you a great moment. And in particular, I so love our cast in that movie. There's so many. It was funny. I was doing a transcript of the dialogue in the movie for the subtitle track recently, because we're going to a few foreign festivals right now, and so I went through and I actually subtitled the entire movie so that other people could translate it into French or Portuguese or whatever they're going to do it. And I realized how all the dialogue is the dialogue we wrote, but it's also slightly tweaked by all the actors in little ways.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite lines is actually totally my two favorite lines in the movie are totally improvised by the actors in between the real lines. And you got to be flexible like that. You got to have ears at the same time that you've got your vision. And that's sort of that humility is the thing that isn't taught in school. I think everyone is taught to be a general, not taught to be a foot soldier, and not taught to learn the process of everything else. And I've been a photographer. I've had my own theater group. I've acted. I'm an okay actor. But, I have done all these positions. I have done all these things. And so I respect the work that everyone brings and the point of view everyone brings to the process. So, but that's more of the mindset of it. In terms of what I love as filmmakers, I'm a big populist filmmaker guy. In the end, I believe the best movies have a poppy quality to them, and they engage everyone, and then sneak in the little stuff. I mean, I can go geeky and say, yes, I think Kurosawa was one of the greatest writers for film ever. I can say, I think Hitchcock was the most amazing framers for camera ever. I can say early Spielberg was that amazing mixture of like 70s photography with like the best of American craftsmanship, or Scorsese, or on an animation side, Hayao Miyazaki or Ozu or whatever. I can go geeky on that. But the point is, I think there's this pop mix that is why people love Wizard of Oz, why people love Casablanca. And these were not designed to be movies to be the best movies ever made. Right. They were designed to be entertaining movies. And the best movies have that mix between the pop and the art, where they just blend together, where they exist side by side. And they're just so full of life that you'll revisit them 1,000 times. And that's where I think the best stuff is. So I'm not big on the sort of uber art in your head, internalized cinema. I don't believe cinema is internalized. Cinema is emotional. Cinema is aggressively emotional. And it's just that sort of, that unique new art form that combines every other art form that I love. And so I'm always learning from it. Because I'll tell you right now, in terms of the short, I see some Fincher in it, definitely. I see some Ridley Scott in it. I see some Spielberg in it. But that's not my one style. The movie I made before that, it's called Holy Hell. I have it as an iPad app. I shot it totally handheld. And because I had a lot of actors, I didn't have much time to shoot, and I totally took a totally different technique than what you see in Quiet Girl. But you sort of take the voice that you feel works for the material.
So just to follow up, so you never feel handcuffed to a specific style, I guess. So you could shoot anything so everything really excites you shooting wise. Mm-hmm. Is that why? Because Quiet Girl has moments where you're right. It has the romantic comedy element, and then it has kind of the crime little bit in it, and then it has the horror element in it, and then the thriller. Is that just because you like so many and you want everybody to be entertained by your movies?
Well, I don't think everyone could be entertained by Quiet Girl, but at the same time, I want it to be aggressively engaging. Meaning, I think that there's so many different style-wise, it bounces through so many different elements. Like one thing I learned on the project is you can have handheld in the movie as long as you do it side by side with some non-handheld work. So literally there'll be scenes that are totally not locked down. And the scene after it, there's not a single shot that isn't either in a dolly or on sticks. And I actually learned that of all things from Alien, which is a beautiful movie, which is a mixture of both verite and the best of studio filmmaking. You know, and I don't think Alien by itself influenced it by itself, but I know that sort of keeping an eye out for what an audience can accept. So there's a very particular reason why all the awkward scenes are handheld, because handheld makes you feel slightly uncomfortable. But this isn't like the mumblecore handheld. It's very sort of, no, I have a rule about handheld that I stick to, which is you always shoot handheld as if you're shooting it like a normal movie. And I think too many people shake the camera for no good reason. The camera's going to shake when you're handheld, no matter what you do. So you just let it happen. But try to not shake the camera. And that way I think the shake has more of a cleanness to it. It doesn't distract you and you don't think about it.
No, I agree 100%. I think that's one of my biggest problems sometimes with action movies now is, you know, that handheld where it starts on the character's face and he just might be talking to somebody, then all of a sudden it like kind of falls down and goes back up, and it just is, it's distracting.
Well, I don't get it in a movie that I like Star Trek, where there's all this handheld and there's two people in the middle of Iowa talking in a bar and the camera's shaking. Like, what's making the camera shake? Is there like an earthquake in Iowa that I'm not aware of? Neither of them are angry or irritated. It's like a quiet scene, yet the camera constantly shakes, and I'm like, what's the motivation behind the shakiness?
Yeah.
And that's what I don't get, is it's this de facto, it's like literally what people slap on to say, this is emotionally real. This means that this means something, when in fact, the best handheld is invisible. Like John McTiernan, I think he's a god of action filmmaking, and his handheld, you don't notice it. You forget it. And I think that's the best stuff. It's the stuff where you're in the world, you're in the movie, and if you noticed a handheld, I think they screwed up.
Yeah.
I know. I'm trying to.
I don't want you to ask me any questions, Ryan and James.
No, there was a point back there where I was going to say amen, but I think that's it.
I guess you said you're working on expanding this short into the web series. Is there anything else like not horror related you're working on, or?
Like every guy in the business, I'm working on 5,000 things.
Yeah.
I'm a big collaborator. I'm a multitasker, to be honest, and I work best when I'm working on a few things at once. Like everyone, I'm working on some features, blah, 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 blah. The thing that's really come from me that's really sort of, I get transmedia. Everyone makes a joke about it in the industry, and people outside the industry go, what's transmedia? but I think it's this thing that I really think it's the future when, especially if you're like a comic book fan.
Oh, yeah.
Because you know how you would read like Uncanny X-Men, then you would read X Factor, and then New Mutant, then there would be the annuals, and then there would be the crossovers. I grew up with that. So to me, that's what transmedia is. It's where you tell a whole series of self-contained stories that then bleed into each other and then become a sort of an uber narrative, while each separate narrative works in its own merit. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think it is, where you do something that works as a movie, then you do a comic that works within itself, and then you do something else that works within itself. I finally feel like the Marvel movies in the last two movies, like with Captain America and Avengers, have finally figured it out. But, you know, they're taking a few movies to get there. And it's now a universe within itself.
Yeah.
Granted, the fans are going to have to accept that it's a different interpretation than what they grew up with for 20 years, but, you know, tough titty. Yeah. That's the name of the game.
When they're that good, I think we're okay with it.
Yeah, yeah. When you get Ruffalo and Downey just sort of like, we can do this any time of the day, and you're like totally captivated by them. Who cares if the alien horde is boring? Who cares if there's no real threat? You will watch those characters for 2.5 hours, and you don't care.
Yep.
Something about making it so effortless is the most amazing thing ever.
And I feel like the characters in comics have been reinvented within the comics many times already, that when fans of the movies complain that, it doesn't capture like this character exactly as it is, it's like,
you can't go,
it
which
doesn't
one?
matter. Like, like it has to serve whatever the movie is like going to be.
And I think that the big problem with modern audiences, and this isn't just comic fans, this is just people who watch media in general, they don't know how to suspend this belief. Because I will ask all of you, did all of you really believe that every single effect shot in the Star Wars movies and Indiana Jones and Gremlins were real?
No.
We didn't. We saw how the Ghost and Ghostbusters didn't match up with the environment. We accept that it was representing something. And I think we have a culture that doesn't watch theater, that doesn't accept musicals unless they're Glee, and don't really engage the idea of this represents something. This isn't reality. This is representing reality. And it's whether or not we achieve something emotionally that it connects with us that's important. Not that Green Man destroying things looks perfectly real.
Right.
I agree. Because we do obviously a movie podcast, we've been going back and watching a lot of the older movies, and you see why they captivate people. It's not. I just watched Singing in the Rain, and I think it's an amazing movie. And now you couldn't sell an audience on a guy just being silly, saying "make them laugh, make them laugh." You couldn't sell an audience now because they want to hear them do a rendition of, I don't know, some Paula Abdul pop song.
Well, and not only that, taking like Rocky Horror Picture Show and taking the sex out of it. But yeah, it's like, why do they knock over the couch? Why did they walk over the couch? What does that mean? I would never do that. And it's like, no, it's yeah. I mean, there's nothing if you can't love Singing in the Rain, I don't know what to do with you, dude. Seriously. I mean, there's nothing more fun than like watching Gene Kelly dance. It's like why we suffer through the dumbest plots in Jackie Chan movies to watch him just be a god of movement. It's because he loves being in front of you. He wants to entertain you. Yeah. There's not like a mean bone in what he's trying to pull off, and then you go with it. And I really don't like the idea that you're too cool for school, that could never happen, or anything like that. And you can't give yourself over to something, because I think that's removing yourself from the best part of why we watch why we geek out over this stuff.
Well, I think part of that, especially with the internet, is it's turned. We've sort of made, or at least I have made my mantra into this whole like I want to like every movie, and that's how I go into every movie, no matter what it is. Even if I know I'm going to hate it, I'm going to try real hard to like it. And I think that I don't know if it's the internet, but that's what the part of me that wants to blame the internet, where there's almost this pride in being able to say, like, I knew that wasn't real, or it never fooled me, or I saw it coming. And it's just like, it's the wrong way to approach a movie. You're not going there to be entertained anymore. You're going there to beat it. And that's not, it's not why I paid $10 for this. Like, are you kidding me? It's just a different atmosphere for seeing movies now.
And I think you're right, James, because, following back up to Quiet Girl, you were worried that people would catch the guy at the end as being nice to her because he was a bully to her. But I didn't get that because I was so invested in the whole universe you created that, well, maybe this guy just sees that because, I mean, she's pretty, but I think she looks pretty cute. I love the glasses and everything. So I think I think James is right. You have to go in accepting what you're seeing and,
let's be honest. If someone who looked like that worked at a library, she would be hit on 10 times a day. Let's not confuse it. This is movie reality here.
No reading would get done at all.
Yeah, not at all. They would go, I'm reading James Joyce again, so what are you doing? Or something like that. It's impossible. But again, Ginny is just a very charismatic. She's got those beautiful blue eyes that work great on camera type of thing. But it's one of those things. It's a representative thing. Yeah. We engage in it and we accept the sort of the artificial reality aspect of it to get to the emotion of it.
And I don't know what it says about me. I'm attracted to someone who's kind of crazy. Is my wife crazy? I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe she has a little crazy in her. But that's a tribute to how great I think the movie was in such a short amount of time. Because you sympathize with her and you don't feel bad for her doing that to those people. You're like, you know what? If I could, I would do that to bullies.
It's amazing how you put a woman in that situation, you immediately are on her side. And I think the question for me on it is like, do they really deserve it? And granted, we don't answer that. I mean, there's a bit of ambiguity to it. But my favorite joke of the movie, man, we're totally spoiling everything, but again, it's a short, is that how lame the boys are when they're insulting her. Because they're not cool. No. Because we had a line reading in the movie where we were trying to peg this line reading where they were mean and evil. And the boys couldn't do it because they're like, 15-year-olds and they were sort of lame about it. And it's so fun because my favorite thing is like, they say the horrible line and they go, and you're like, oh my God, these guys are such dorks. And the fact that would traumatize someone from a certain perspective is, to me, really funny.
It is, yeah. And don't be late with your library books to
Never.
her library, because that's how she'll find you on. Actually, my biggest laugh in the movie is the hipster douchebag Patrick on his Facebook, and he said "every day bitches," and he has a coffee cup, and he's outside a coffee thing and pointing at the camera. I'm like, I hate those guys on Facebook.
I mean, anyone that she messes with is basically a thing I hate. So if you want to know what I hate, it's whatever people do, like bad performance art. I'm not a fan.
I forgot about that part. That was traumatizing.
It's funny because I know we're hitting a wall when we're talking about the short. Because again, it's 15 minutes. It's not like there's layers of story information going on
here. You did make me remember the guy who was standing next to Jeff in line at the beginning, and he's trying to talk to her, invite her, and then the dude just slowly leans into frame, like, "Come on, man, I want to get my coffee."
That's Byron Brown. That was a thing I wanted you to remember him later because he's sort of the little lackey to Ivy, the character Kelly Bland plays. Byron is an amazing actor. In fact, I'll do a little plug for him real quick. Check out the Doritos Make Your Own Ad thing. He was on this video that got, like, literally the day we shot the sequence where he gets all the whipped cream cum on his head. This video that he was in was blowing up, got 1 million views in one day, where it was this guy showing how he makes Doritos. And it was this, quick 30-second commercial. It's hysterically funny, but Byron is just a little kamikaze of comedy. I mean, he just he does anything. You put him in a scene, he can steal it, in 5 seconds, put it in his pocket, and walk away.
Well, I mean, he has that throwaway line, too. He says, "I have chocolate syrup all over my body." That's it. That's his line. Improvised. We had him run through a whole series of lines, and we knew that he was just going to nail whatever he was going to say. So it's like we just ran a series, and then we just picked the one that he played. The deadpanist.
That's too funny.
It's great.
So enough about my movie. I'm going to geek out about something real quick.
Cool.
What's something worth geeking out about?
What was the last thing you saw?
Yeah, it was
I just saw a shorts program, but
No.
Well, let's see. You're talking to a guy who's just been festivaling. So that's like saying, what's the last 15...
you were just at Fantastic Fest.
I was at Fantastic Fest.
What did you love at Fantastic Fest?
Holy Motors. Oh, my God, that movie's wonderful. It's that movie I don't want to talk about in detail because it's that movie that refuses to answer itself. It's just like a pure movie of just pure what is going on here. But it's made with such precision and honesty that I was sucked on for the 2.5 hours of it. All I have to say is if it's on the big screen in your hometown, you see that movie because let's see, and then Looper, of course, is out. I know you guys love it. Ryan Johnson, of course, is. I still think he made the best debut movie of the 2000s with Brick. It's such a perfect little movie, and so I think all of us have just been quietly waiting for him to show that. Yeah, he's just as good as we thought he was. And then there was a whole bunch of other stuff. It was a good run of stuff. Dread was a fun B movie, I thought. It delivered what it needed to. I want Alex Garland to make. That guy seems born for genre because he's both very humanist, but he knows to give us the Paul Verhoeven movie that we've been wanting for so long. I Declare War is a fun one. I'm trying to think. I saw 15 movies, so it was. I'll say it wrong. Everyone calls it Bavarian Sound Studio, but it's Bavarian. It's Toby Jones in this movie as this sound editor for this Giallo movie, and you never see this horror movie he's making. It's purely from the point of view of the sound guys. It's very flawed at times, but it's so beautifully made at all the other times that you'll get sucked up by it if you're a big cinema fan.
Cool.
There's a few others. And mixing the ones that I don't like, of course, because
you never know who's listening.
Never know. No. I'm forgetting. There's tons of stuff, but there was just again, you see so many movies. You're seeing 5 movies a day sometimes, and in they just blend together in your brain. I just saw at the festival. It was at Fantastic, but I missed it at Fantastic. Errors of the Human Body.
Oh, yeah.
And Michael Eklund, who I met there, a class act man, and I'm happy to say he's a class act actor. He really, really was fantastic in the movie. Very well acted all across the board, and it was really solid. A few others I'm looking forward to. I'm going to go see Battery tonight.
We are too. We're really looking forward to that
yeah.
one. Because
Yeah.
we found out their makeup designer is one of our fans. Like, really? You know who we are. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's so funny is that business-wise is that you eventually realize you know so many other people, which is why it doesn't do you any benefit to be like a mean girl because it will bite you in the ass. It's like you will bump into someone who knows someone, and it'll be at the weirdest moment too. Which is what's weird because when you're at a festival and you bump into other filmmakers, it's that sort of explaining to a virgin type of thing. You can't explain what it's like to make a movie to someone else that's made a movie because it doesn't matter if they don't like your movie. They empathize with you. They empathize with what you went through. And so there's this sort of, yeah, that was that. Yeah, that was that. And everyone else will be like, oh, I thought your movie was pretty good, but you could be better. And your minder is just like, oh, that was so hard to make. And so the other people will still empathize with the difficulty and all the challenges you went with, regardless of their opinion on the actual project. And that's what I sort of love about it because it's not that thing where you're in the industry and you're just being professional polite. There's this genuine sort of, I like to consider it like, it's like a festival is like a filmmaker coffee shop after midnight where you're hanging out and you're having the long 2-hour discussions about something or the things that are in your head that you don't ever get to talk about at any other point in time unless you have a podcast. But it becomes that place where all the barriers are down and you seem to have the most honest filmmaking conversations that I think I've ever had.
Oh, I agree. We did Mile High Horror Fest last week, and I was shocked about the candid conversations we would have with people. We interviewed an actor, and his point of view for making a movie was different than a director's point of view, and it's a really cool, like, close-knit group. And one thing we kind of got over is that people are so nice. It's always intimidating asking a filmmaker like you, say, oh, will you please sit on our podcast, please? And what you learn is most of them are like us. They just make the movies we enjoy.
Yeah.
And
Well, I was just talking with Gabriel, one of the hosts of the festival, and I was like, you're creating content too. The only difference is your content is sort of in context to our content, but it's still content. You have to produce the episodes. You'll get worked up when something that you worked on isn't as good as you want to, and you angst over it, and you angst about how this didn't work and how that didn't work. Your turnaround is just faster. But it's the same constant. You're generating stuff that you hope is good and you hope people are like, and you hope is honest and sort of says what you want to do. It's the same thing. It's just a different thing. I bet a baker feels the same way about a cake. It's like, I really hope they like my tiramisu I just did. That type of thing.
That's funny.
Brad, you're a filmmaker. Do you have any questions for a filmmaker? I put him on the spot. I love doing that.
He's been monitoring the sound, so he's been like watching and judging the entire time.
And, well, you've been so thorough, like as it is, like you're saying before, like two filmmakers get together and they try to talk about the process, and it's like like you just kind of relate and accept it's because you already know how some things work. So there's not really like, well, how did the camera work for you? Like that doesn't further to the discussion. But I just did the 48-hour film project for like the third year in a row, and it's always a different animal each time. And like, do you work with a lot of the same people, or like you said, you like to collaborate a lot? So
on the writing level, I tend to collaborate a lot. I love writing with other people because as a writer, I don't like internalizing the process of hating myself and hating what I did. I'd like someone else to hate what I do because it makes it easier in arguing it out, and it sort of externalizes the process of what you as a writer do. Because to me, writing is in some ways much easier than I think writers make it out to. That's why I don't like movies about writers, because it makes them into such a self-torturing thing. And the point is, you have an amount of time, you have to come up with a story, and you got to write it out. And between writing and casting, we pretty much had less than a month between writing up the idea of Quiet Girl and casting. And we did rewrites while we were casting once we saw the actors and we did tweaks, but from first draft, the story never changed. It was only dialogue in relation to the characters. It wasn't the sort of the spine of the script that didn't change. And I feel that restrictions on any level of production always invigorate it if you embrace what the assets of the restrictions are. And like the 48-hour thing, I've helped out some friends on them, and they're always fun in terms of you got to come up with the best idea. It's not about being you're the person who makes it wonderful. It's that all of you together for 48 hours come up with the best idea in the amount of time that you have that make it work. Now, I've done also the Drunken Film Festival thing, which is just like the thing where everyone in the team but one is drunk and you have to do it, and then you have to watch it when you're sober. It's interesting. But yeah, I mean, like what do you shoot on? What do you?
Whatever I can get my hands on. I started out with a VX2000, which is like a PD150. I'm trying to get into a DSLR, and then for this year we used a friend's. What is it? It was a Canon. It's comparable to an HVX2000.
Was it? So I'm just going to laundry list.
Or 200. Yeah.
T2i, 7D, 5D, 1D.
I haven't shot with it. Well, actually, I guess I used a D5100 for last year, but like this year it was it was a video camera, not a DSLR. So
Okay.
I'm trying to get a DSLR because
They're so good. I mean,
Yeah.
we shot on DSLRs, and I have lenses that I used on the project that are more expensive than the cameras themselves, to be honest.
Yeah.
And the lenses are so important. And I think that's the thing when we're talking about the democracy of well, it's not film anymore, but the democracy of movies, is that the equipment is so good that I mean, I've shot on film. I didn't really enjoy it because I knew digital was coming, and I'm like, why teach myself all these tools I'm going to have to dump in a heartbeat? So I literally just did other stuff for several years in the industry until I knew the technology was good enough, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to make movies again. Because I was just at that age where Avids were starting to happen, and digital wasn't quite there yet, but I saw it growing every year so quickly. I knew by Moore's law it was going to be good enough. And I think in one way that's so to a lot of people I know that's sort of like, oh my God, there's so many people else out there that all of them are making their movies and I don't know if I'm good enough. But the truth is that quality does, metaphor-wise, does show up. Yeah. Your ability to tell a story well will always show out in the end. And that's what always happens with shorts, is that you have shorts that are you'll see some beautiful shorts with good effects work, but their stories whatever. And then you'll have a less expensive one that was shot for nothing at a 10th or a 20th or a 30th of the cost of an effects reel one that just has such clean acting and storytelling and just saying something that you're like, well, forget it. Well, clearly it gives people that opportunity. I think the big problem now is because there's so much of it out there, you have to find a way to get it out there and a way to, this word's sort of a bad word, but brand it and get people to notice it. And I think you have to set aside some energy and some focus to figure out how you're going to present it, because it's all part of it. It's all part of the wind up and pitch of getting someone to see a project. And that's the thing I think we really benefited from, is that because Ginny's design firm was so good at sort of getting the sort of thing out. We're short. It's a short. Shorts mean nothing in the end. I mean, can you sell a short? Can you put a short in a movie theater? You can't. But I think we really got some wonderful exposure by the fact that it's so well presented, even outside of the thing itself, that people sort of instantly notice it from even our logo type of thing, and sort of going into it. And my sort of approach on that is, that's part of the process. It's sort of, advertising is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's part of the storytelling, because you remember the good posters to movies you love. They say nothing. They give you a mystery, and you go, why is that guy holding that ring in his hand and he looks like he's so sad? Why are those kids riding those little boats to that castle? Type of thing, or whatever. It's like that poster come on, that Phantom Menace poster of Anakin with the shadow of Vader. That is more poetic than any of the prequels.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was rambling.
How do you get noticed then? Because, you said yourself that they don't play shorts in movie theaters, and, so is it just you shoot it and then you put it out there and hope festivals pick it up, or how does that work?
I don't know how it works, to be honest. I feel there's a luck factor involved that I can't deny, so I can't. I'm not the king of. I'm not the king of shorts or anything. It's only thinking of the king of shorts. It's like Work Davis is the king of shorts. Wow, nicest guy in the world. I'm sorry, but you're not going to make it into shorts this year. Away from you. But it's. it's really just sort of putting yourself out there and being an extrovert and being friendly and being honest. The nice thing about it is people always make fun of the idea that you're schmoozing and networking and finger quoting, as I'm doing right now, as if it's a bad thing. But the point is, if you love what you did and you're honest about what you did, people smell the honesty on you, and they'll give you half a chance if you really just sort of are friendly about it, and just don't feel bad when that hot girl film festival says no to you. You just keep going. There's enough festivals out there, and don't. The thing I really think is uncool is when people don't get into a good festival, even though they've done a good short, and they get pissy about it on the internet. I mean, everyone's going to see that. That's like writing a bad letter to your ex-girlfriend about something, but the whole world got to see it. It just comes off as unprofessional. And the thing is, just there's always another opportunity. There's always another place. Keep plugging ahead at it. And even if your short wasn't that good, do another one, and just keep working at it, because you have to be stupid about it. And stupid in a way that you're not going to do anything else. It's what you want to do. So keep doing it until it gets out there. And that's all it is, because it's you're leaping into the void when you make that choice to do that. And you have to accept the consequences of that. Means I may be poor for a while. That may mean that I'll be totally frightened with fear that I mortgaged whatever to make this thing. But that's actually the journey and the process of it, that you have to embrace that uncertainty of making something, and then just enjoy it along the way, because there isn't a point where everyone goes, here's your bag of gold, and then you don't do anything. No, you do the next thing, and you do the next thing, and that's what the business is. It's you're perpetually doing something new. So the joy you get is the process rather than the final result.
I think the lesson we just learned is that there's a hot girl film festival, and that we need
no,
to
it was a metaphor.
We need to go.
It's a metaphor.
Wait, it was a metaphor.
Yeah. It's like that. Well, you know what I mean. It's like the hot.
Yeah,
It's
I know.
just like, can you go to prom with me? No. All right.
But I think you're right. I think fear sometimes can be a great motivational tool, because if you don't have the fear, then you won't get behind it. I mean, I work for a living, and my fear is that I'm not going to be able to provide for my wife. So I think that's an admirable thing, because I think the fear drives people, and you can't be afraid of the fear.
No,
You should use it as a springboard.
And you're not going to be perfect. And I think that what people are afraid of is they see like sheer perfection as they perceive it in these big high-scale projects, and they think, there's no way I could do that. Well, you're right. You can't do that. So don't worry about it. And go and do the thing you can do, and you'll have your flaws. And, man, there's flaws in what we've done that my partners will give me shit about. But I'm like, whatever. It is what it is at this point, and people seem to enjoy it. So you sort of let it go and sort of like, it is what it is. And then you beat yourself up at the same time where you go, I know that could have been better, but it is what it is. And then the next thing you know will be better. And you learn from the mistakes of that, and it all builds off of it. Because that's what I love about Blu-rays. You know how you watch a movie on Blu-ray and you went, it's one of the best movies ever made, and that shot's out of focus. and it's sort of those flaws that you see in high def sort of make everything slightly more attainable, and the people that you idolize and wish you were just a little bit more human in that way. And that, I don't know, that encourages me as opposed to making me feel bad in any way.
I think that's a great way to end this. That was really profound. That was awesome. Hey, but where can we find you online? Is there a place we can go to check out your stuff?
Okay, well, we've got several things. First, Quiet Girl's Guide to Violence is at quietgirlsguide.com, but the most current information is on our web in terms of Facebook. And we're constantly updating what's going on with us. At the same time, to do my secondary plug, my movie Holy Hell is currently available as an iPad app. The first of its kind, unless anyone can prove otherwise.
No, that's the first I've ever heard of it.
It premiered as an iPad app back in January, literally in the middle of shooting the library sequence of the movie. And what it is it's meant to be a multimedia experience in terms of you get the movie, but at the same time there is 50 minutes of supplemental and extended footage in the app, and another 100 pages or so of in-world text and media. And it was a real experiment. I used to be a DVD producer back a long time ago, and so I've always big on like how you how you give extras to a movie, how you make it more than just the movie. And me and my writing producing partner, Lil Bartholomew, really put together, I think, a really beautiful package of, like, you watched a movie and then there's this wonderful world we did in connection to it. And it was a real chance we took, because this was a movie we festivaled, and then we saw the market was so glutted, and we said, we got to find a new, neat, clever way to present this, because there's so many new movies on Netflix streaming, it just becomes one of another movies. And I think it's a new approach that I'm really excited by. And I'm saying that outside of being that, well, I got to sell this to you. I mean, it really is a fun experience, and it really shares the love of this world that we created. At the same time, I have a web series called Artiste Impressions. I do that's follows a winery called Artiste. It's a winery in and just north of Santa Barbara and San Ynez Valley, and it's a wonderful little series and a wonderful little winery that I do literally just for jollies. Cool. And then there'll be other stuff too, but whatever.
That's still a lot of stuff. That's so cool. A movie app.
Yeah.
That just blew my mind.
I'm going to have to buy an iPad.
Well, thank you, sir, for sitting down. We really appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rafael, for stopping by. We really appreciate it. Again, taking so much time out to talk to us, not only during the interview, but also making us feel comfortable at Telluride, because, again, it's always nerve-wracking getting filmmakers to be on your show, because you don't know if they want to or not. And so thank you so much for geeking out with us. And, there's times when I was waiting for... You guys left because we were waiting for Laura. I was waiting for Laura to come back from the movie she was seeing by herself. And he sat there and hung out with me, too.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate it. He
was just so gracious with his time. Just the fact that he spent that much time with us was amazing.
And we can say we had breakfast with filmmakers.
Yeah. Yeah. That whole experience made that trip worth it for sure.
Absolutely. So stay tuned next week when we unleash another amazing interview that the Real Nerds did at some horror show.
Which one will it be?
You'll never know.
Well, until next week.
Next week. Yeah. But I actually kind of know which one we're doing. But I'm going to leave you on the edge of your seat, so you have to listen to our podcast. Until next time, bye.
Bye.